There is a truly fascinating country in the Balkans, known for its warm-hearted people, affordability, and stunning nature. Albania. Yes, I say fascinating because it genuinely deserves it. And I am sure that after what you are about to see and hear, you will be just as captivated as I am. So, if you have subscribed, let us move on to the documentary without wasting any time. Albania has a surface area of 28,748 square kilometers and a population of 3 million. However, it would be wrong to limit them to this. Albanians are not limited to their own country, but are spread to almost every country in the Balkans. In North Macedonia, for example, 1 in 5 people identify themselves as Albanians, while in Kosovo, the majority of the population speaks Albanian and considers themselves Albanians. In fact, 95% of Kosovo's population is Albanian. Incidentally, Albanians are not descendants of Italians or Ottoman Turks, but of Illyrians who settled in the region around 2000 BC. The Illyrians lived on this land for more than 1,500 years and formed the origins of the modern Albanian nation. Of course, the story of such a country is not limited to geographical and demographic boundaries. Its history is just as vast. Albanian lands were under the control of Byzantium, or Eastern Rome, for 1,000 years and then ruled by the Ottoman Empire for 437 years. But after the Ottomans lost their territory, the country was occupied by Greece, Italy, and Serbia. And the Albanian society, trying to find itself among these occupations, came under the influence of communism. This is where we meet a communist man, Enver Hoxha, leader of the Albanian Workers' Party from 1941 to 1985. Hoxha changed the country's destiny by raising the literacy rate from 5% to 90%, building railroads and ending epidemics. He also took dramatic steps. He closed religious facilities and turned Albania into a completely secular, even atheist country. In other words, he officially banned religion in the country. Anyway, after a short history lesson, let's move on to the main topic of our video. Although Albanians have been under the influence of different empires and cultures over the years, they have managed to preserve their essence without assimilating. However, the fact that they remain Albanian in identity does not change the fact that they have adopted their daily routines from other nationalities. Let me explain this right away. For example, some features of their appearance or the food they eat may remind you of Ottoman culture. On the other hand, when you walk around the streets of the capital Tirana, you will often come across Turkish and Arab restaurants. It is obvious that they look up to Italians in terms of sports, fashion, or clothing. So much so that some Albanians watch Italian soccer leagues instead of their own. This way they feel closer to Europe. However, it is also a fact that they have never lost their Balkan identity. Of course, this cultural richness is also reflected in the friendliness of the people. Albanians are very friendly and helpful to outsiders. Only when they meet unfamiliar black people, they look a little more carefully. This is purely out of curiosity. Other than that, they are very hospitable people. If you are lost or looking for a place, they will help you immediately. They want to have a sincere dialogue and chat with you. Speaking of their identity, it is also worth mentioning the belief system in Albania. There is no religious oppression against anyone in this country. Everyone has freedom of belief. For example, you can see mosques and churches side by side in many parts of the capital Tirana, and you can hear both the call to prayer and church bells during the day. Muslims and Christians living in the country are very respectful towards each other in this regard. Some Christians even fast with Muslims during Ramadan to respect them. Albanians are also very attached to their families. In fact, family is everything for them. Especially some Albanians spend Sundays with their families in parks or cafes. Of course, in order to ensure this socialization, the economy must also be good. I can say that Albanians are a bit unlucky in this regard, because although this country is known as a very affordable destination in many respects, It is a paradise for those who earn more euros. The currency of the country is the Albanian lek, and €1 is equivalent to approximately 100 lek. This price should not seem very cheap to you, because in some restaurants, markets, cafes, and shops, the lek equivalent of almost everything is high. So much so that it is quite difficult to find anything under 200 lek. Especially restaurant prices are close to some European countries and sometimes even expensive. For this reason, most Albanians prefer to eat at home. This is where perhaps one of Albania's biggest challenges comes into play: income level. Although this delightful destination has income sources such as sea tourism, monthly incomes are generally not very high. The minimum salary in the country is 40,000 lek, which is around €405 at today's exchange rate. It is known that the monthly earnings of an average profession is €550 to €650. For example, a family of 4 trying to live a decent life in the capital, Tirana needs to earn at least €2,400 to €2,700 to meet basic needs such as rent, food, transportation, health, and education. This means that everyone in the household must have at least an average salaried job. Even apartment rents, one of the most important expenses, start at €1,000 in the capital Tirana. Of course, there is a reason for these low incomes and high expenses: brain drain. Especially young and educated Albanians are permanently migrating to developed countries in Europe, such as France, Germany, and Italy, instead of staying in their country after completing their education. Some sources even state that by 2025, more than 40% of the country's young population will have migrated to Europe. So why visit or live in Albania when the conditions are so unfavorable? First of all, Albania clearly has some negative reputations. Unfortunately, the Albanian mafia has a serious international reputation. They have an extremely dangerous organizational structure and are active in many places even today. But this should never discourage you, because if you come to Albania for tourism, you are completely safe. The negativity I am talking about is usually related to criminal structures and has nothing to do with you. The country is so safe that young women living in Tirana can walk the streets as they please until late at night. They do not face any harassment or danger. Another great advantage of the country is undoubtedly its geography. Unlike many countries in the Balkans, Albania has a coastline. This means that the country is not only accessible by sea, but also offers great potential in terms of tourism income. Especially Europeans prefer Albania for affordable beach vacations. Beautiful seaside towns like Saranda or areas like Ksamil are packed with Europeans and Americans alike during the summer months. By the way, speaking of Americans, we should not forget the ease of visa. Because American citizens can live in Albania without a visa for up to 1 year. This causes many Americans to prefer Albania. By the way, those with a digital nomad visa can stay longer. Now let's talk about the capital Tirana and its vibrant life. This is a wonderful city that perfectly blends modern life with its historical fabric. The grey blocks from the communist era have been replaced by colourful buildings and European-style cafes. The streets are very lively and the people are very friendly. The Beloku area in particular is the heart of the city's nightlife, with popular venues like Colonial Tirana, Radio Bar, and Spy Speakeasy. This rhythm never stops for a moment. If you plan to stay in the city, expect to pay 2,700 lek, €27, for a 3-star hotel and 6,100 lek, €61, for a more luxurious hotel. Also, meals in restaurants usually range between 10 to 15 euros, while coffee prices are between 1 and 3 euros. I highly recommend you to see the statue of Skanderbeg, the national hero of Albanians, right in the heart of the city. Together with the Opera House and the National Museum, it is the pulse of the square and the city. Although it was closed to pedestrians during the communist rule, Today, it has been transformed into a public social space. In conclusion, Albania is not just a Balkan country. With its deep history, identity shaped by traces of different cultures, breathtaking beauty and warm spirit preserved despite all challenges, it is a unique nation that can surprise you at any moment. Although it may be underdeveloped in certain areas and sometimes fall below average living standards, it has never lost its authenticity, vibrancy, and dynamism. If you have not visited Albania yet, believe me, you are the one missing out. See you in the next documentary. Take care.